The foot-in-the-door technique is a manipulation tactic where a person, often called the manipulator, begins by asking for small, reasonable favors. Once the target, often called the victim, agrees to these smaller requests, the manipulator gradually escalates to larger demands, often leading to significant or exploitative favors by the end. Here's a breakdown of how this tactic works and why it's effective. 1. Building compliance through small requests. The manipulator starts by asking for something minimal, like a small favor or a tiny loan. The target, seeing the request as insignificant, agrees, which builds a psychological connection. The target's compliance makes them more likely to agree to similar, slightly larger requests in the future. 2. Gradual escalation. As the manipulator gains the target's trust, they increase the scope of their requests, pushing for larger and larger favors. Each step is incremental, which prevents the target from feeling overwhelmed. This technique works because people often feel a need to remain consistent in their actions. If they've said yes to a small favor, they're more likely to agree to a bigger one to maintain that pattern of helpfulness. 3. Trust building. Optional repayment phase. Sometimes manipulators temporarily repay what they owe or fulfill their end of the initial agreements. This repayment phase can strengthen the target's trust, leading them to believe that the manipulator will continue acting responsibly. However, this trust is often exploited later in the process. 4. The final, ultimate favor. After establishing a pattern of small favors and repayments, the manipulator asks for a major request, which may be something they don't intend to fulfill or repay. At this point, the target may feel invested or obligated enough to comply, even if the request is significant. Once this final favor is granted, the manipulator might disappear or stop the pattern of repayment, often leaving the target feeling betrayed. 5. Moving on to new victims. After the manipulator exhausts a target or feels they can't gain any more from them, they may leave and seek out new targets. This cycle allows manipulators to continue gaining benefits without facing long-term consequences, as they repeatedly establish and abandon relationships. How foot in the door differs from door in the face. In the foot in the door technique, the manipulator begins with smaller requests to ease the target into larger favors. It's like stepping into a room slowly, 1 foot at a time, until the whole body is inside. In the door in the face technique, the manipulator initially makes an unrealistic, large request, expecting it to be denied. After the target says no, the manipulator follows up with a more reasonable, smaller request, which the target is more likely to agree to. This works because, after rejecting a big request, people are more inclined to agree to a smaller one out of a sense of compromise. Both techniques leverage psychology to guide the target towards compliance, but they do so in opposite directions. One builds up from small to large, and the other starts large to make a smaller request seem more acceptable.